The silence in Bowley village was heavier than lead. It was not the silence of peace. It was the silence that precedes the slaughter. Outside, the waves of the Gulf of Naples beat the rocks with a monotonous rhythm, hypnotic. But inside the room, the air smelled of cold sweat and betrayal. The dim light from a single oil lamp cast long shadows on the marble walls. Shadows that looked like claws. Agrippina the Younger was sitting, straight. Property. A living statue of pride and poison. She heard the footsteps. Heavy, metallic. They were not the footsteps of servants bringing wine. They were the footsteps of military boots. Caligay hitting the expensive floor mosaic. The door was not opened courteously. It was broken into. The wood cracked, groaning under the violence. 3 men entered. The first was Anicetus, the freed one. The former slave she herself had despised so many times. The man who taught Nero to hate. His hatred was visible. It shone brighter in his eyes than the steel in his hand. Behind him, a centurion and a tribune. The trinity of death. Agrippina did not scream. Screaming is for the victims. She was never a victim. She was Augusto's great-granddaughter, Caligula's sister, Claudio's wife, the emperor's mother. She looked at Anicetus. His eyes didn't blink. The room was suffocating. The servants had already fled. Rats abandoning ship. Only one stayed behind, running towards the door. "Are you abandoning me too?" Agrippina asked. Her voice as dry as sand. The servant did not respond. He disappeared into the darkness of the corridor. Now, it was just her and the killers. The centurion drew his sword. The sound of metal scraping against the scabbard was the only noise in the world at that moment. A high-pitched sound. Definitive. The tribune raised a club. They expected supplications. They expected the most powerful woman in Rome to crawl, cry, offer gold or titles. They expected fear. But Agrippina did something that froze the blood in the veins of those brutal men. With a sudden, violent movement, she grabbed her own tunic. The thin fabric tore with the sound of paper being destroyed. She exposed her body. Not the breasts, not the neck. She exposed her belly. Her pale skin, marked by time and motherhood, shone under the lamplight. She looked directly into the eyes of the centurion who raised the blade. She didn't look at the sword, he looked at the man. And then, with the firm voice of someone giving a general's last order on the battlefield, she pointed to her own uterus. "Come hurt it here, hurt this belly," she roared. "This is where I spawned that monster." The centurion hesitated for a split second. The horror of that command was greater than the fear of disobeying Nero. But the order was clear. The hesitation died. The sword came down. The first blow was not fatal. It hit the shoulder. Hot blood splashed onto the mosaic, staining Roman art with the visceral reality of politics. Agrippina did not back down. The second blow came. And the third. They chopped her up. Right there, in the dark room. But while her blood soaked the silk sheets, the real story wasn't about death. It was about ultimate irony. The woman who manipulated the destiny of the world, who poisoned husbands and eliminated rivals to put her son on the throne, was being disemboweled at the behest of that same son. The blade that pierced her womb was forged by her own ambition. To understand the brutality of this moment, you need to understand the architecture of the madness that led to it. It didn't start that night. It started years before, started with a mushroom dish. Agrippina was not just a mother. She was an architect of power. She married Emperor Claudius, her own uncle, an old man considered an idiot by the court, but who held absolute power. She didn't love him. Love is a weakness that women like Agrippina extirpate from themselves in childhood. She loved what he could give. The throne to her son, Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus. The boy the world would know as Nero. She needed Claudio to die. But not anyway. It had to be at the right time. When Nero was old enough to be acclaimed, but young enough to be controlled, dinner was served. Mushrooms. The emperor's favorite delicacy. The poison is said to have been prepared by Locusta, Rome's most famous poisoner, under the watchful eye of Agrippina. Claudius ate. It was bad. But he didn't die immediately, he vomited. Fate seemed to laugh at Agrippina. If Claudio survived, she would be dead. That's when her true nature revealed itself. No panic. Just cold action. She called the court physician Xenophon. He, already bought by her, pretended to help the emperor vomit. He inserted a feather into Claudio's throat, but the feather was soaked with a quick, paralyzing poison. Claudius choked to death, purple, while Agrippina held Nero's hand, preparing him to receive the crown. She created the emperor. She put the world in the hands of a 16-year-old boy, but she made the fatal mistake of all tyrants, underestimating the will of others. She thought Nero would be her eternal puppet, that she would rule through him. He sat behind curtains at Senate meetings. His effigy appeared on coins next to his. But the boy grew up, and the monster she fed with absolute power began to feel hungry. Hunger for autonomy. Nero got tired of his mother. He got tired of the surveillance. He grew tired of her criticisms, of his lovers, of his ridiculous art, of his unfitness to govern. And, above all, he was tired of his fear of her. Because Nero was, in essence, a coward, and there is nothing more dangerous in the world than a coward with unlimited power. The coward attacks first because he fears being attacked. He tried to kill her before that night in the village. And the previous attempt was so elaborate, so theatrical, that it seems like something out of a bad Greek tragedy. The Festival of Minerva. Baie. Nero invited his mother to reconcile. A sumptuous dinner. Fake smiles. Expensive wines. Long hugs. He showered her with compliments. "Mom, you are the only reason for my empire." Sweet lies that Agrippina, for a moment of weakness or arrogance, chose to swallow. When it was time to leave, he offered her a magnificent ship for the return journey. But the ship was a mechanical trap. Designed by Anicetus, the cabin's roof was loaded with tons of lead. Balanced to collapse at the signal of a mechanism, and the hull was made to open and sink. It was a floating coffin. The night was starry, the sea, calm as a black mirror. Agrippina relaxed in the cabin, talking to her servant Acerronia. Suddenly, the ceiling collapsed. The noise was deafening. Wood splitting. Screams. But the mechanism partially failed. The high sides of the sofa, where Agrippina was lying, protected her from immediate crushing. The lead fell, killing one of the servants instantly, but she survived. Ship began to list. Chaos reigned. The rowers, accomplices in the plan, tried to turn the boat by force to drown them. It was at that moment that the servant Acerronia, in a panic and trying to save herself, made a fatal mistake. She began to shout in the darkness of the water, "I am Agrippina! Save me! I am the emperor's mother!" She thought the title would save her. The rowers, equipped with oars and sticks, surrounded the woman who was screaming in the water, and they beat her to death. They crushed her skull as she cried out for her son's name. Agrippina, observing everything, understood. She saw her friend being massacred for carrying her name, and, in silence, with a wound in his shoulder, he slipped into the dark water. She swam. He swam with the fury of someone who refuses death. He swam while the blood mixed with the salt. Fishermen found her and took her to shore. She survived, but when she arrived at her village, soaked, shivering, she knew. She knew it wasn't an accident. The silence of the palace, the lack of official help. Nero had tried to kill her. And herein lies the Stoic, brutal tragedy of the situation. Agrippina did not run away. She didn't raise an army. She went home and waited. Why? Maybe because he knew there was nowhere to run. Rome was Nero, the world was Nero. Or perhaps, on a deeper and more perverse layer, she wanted to see how far her creation would go. She sent a messenger to her son to say she was alive, thank the gods. When Nero received the news, he went into absolute panic. He was shaking. He bit his nails. She will come with the soldiers. She will shake the people. She's going to invade the Senate. The boy's fear of his mother was pathetic. It was Seneca. Yes, the great Stoic philosopher, the tutor who watched everything, who silenced the room. Seneca looked at Burro, the prefect of the guard, and with a simple look, the sentence was given. If the boat failed, the sword would not fail. They sent Anicetus to finish the job. We returned to the room, to the descending blade. Hit the belly. This phrase is not just a request for quick death. It is Agrippina's last psychological manipulation. By having the uterus struck, she was saying, "It's your fault, but the origin is mine. You are killing your own source. You're amputating yourself." It is the historical parallel with Clytemnestra and Orestes, the son who kills his mother to avenge his father, pursued by the Furies, the goddesses of revenge, who drive madness. Agrippina knew mythology. She knew that matricide was the ultimate crime, the stain that no water from the Tiber River could wash away. By dying like that, she cursed Nero forever, and it worked. Nero examined his dead mother's naked body. It touched his limbs. He praised her beauty. He drank wine looking at the corpse. He seemed insensitive. But the madness started there. In the following years, Nero saw his mother in dreams. He saw the Furies with whips of fire. The paranoia grew. Cruelty exploded. The fire of Rome, the persecution of Christians, the murder of his wife Poppaea, kicked in the womb, ironically, while she was pregnant. All echoes of that blow in Agrippina's room. He killed his mother to be free, but became a slave to her ghost. He died years later, alone, cornered, sticking a dagger in his own throat, whining. What an artist the world has lost, the mother and the son, the creator and the creature, both devoured by the same insatiable hunger for power. The lesson here is not about Roman politics. It's about the law of moral causality. Agrippina taught Nero that power justifies everything. She taught that human life is disposable. She taught that betrayal is a valid tool. She shaped his character with cynicism, cruelty, and excessive ambition. And when that character was fully formed, she turned against the only authority she had left, herself. You can't raise a wolf with human flesh and expect it not to bite your hand when it's hungry. You can't plant thorns and expect to harvest grapes. We live in a society that applauds ambition at any cost, that says, do whatever it takes to win. Agrippina did what was necessary, and her prize was a sword in the womb, sent by the sun she placed on top of the world. The consequences of our actions are not immediate. They ferment. They grow in the dark. You think you are in control. You think you can manipulate people, use moral shortcuts, step on some necks to get ahead. And that when you get up there, everything will be fine. That you will be benevolent. But the monsters we create, whether children, projects, lies, or habits, have memories, and they always come home. Agrippina looked death in the face and recognized her own work. The sword was made of Roman steel, but the blow was struck by her ego, cultivated over decades. She wasn't just murdered, it was harvested. Now, look in the mirror. Look at what you are building. Look at how you treat those below you and what you teach with your actions to those who observe you. If what you are creating today turned against you tomorrow with full force, would you survive? Or would you have to point to your own chest and ask for the final blow, knowing you deserve it? You say you are virtuous, he says he has values. But in the dark of your room, when no one is watching, what are you feeding? If your son, your creation, your legacy, your accumulated deeds walked through the door right now with a sword in his hand, would he embrace you or execute you? Comment below. Are you creating a legacy or your own executioner? I want to see who has the courage to admit the truth.